How tall do you have to be to throw shot really, really far? We're gonna figure that out today, and we're gonna start right now. So there's a never-ending discussion of how tall do you have to be to throw the shot as far as possible. You know, we always hear college coaches, well, how tall is she? How tall is he? Well, if they're not 6'7", I'm not recruiting them. And then we also have that discussion of, well, Raven Saunders is 5'5", and she just got second at the Olympics. Joe Kovacs is, 6 feet tall, and he was pretty good. Reese Huff was 5'11". He might be one of the best ever. So we have this discussion where things just lead to this, I guess it would be a dichotomy where you're going, well, everybody wants really, really tall throwers, but in reality, there are people who aren't tall, Tom Walsh, that still throw really, really far. So in today's video, we're gonna break down the top 8 competitors from the World Championships or the Olympics since 2011. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into who are these athletes, who are some of the really, really tall ones, the outliers, who are some of the really short ones, again, some of the outliers, and then break down what's their average height, because this needs to be discussed. If we have an athlete who comes in the door and they're in high school and they're a little bit shorter, but they can still throw 16 meters in high school, is it bad to recruit that individual? Is there some ceiling physiologically? And I think that that's one of those big discussions, is that a lot of athletes and a lot of coaches, mainly, a lot of coaches will sit there and they'll play the game through their head and say, well, if I have a kid who's 18 or 19 and talking about females, maybe they are only 5'5". Okay, they're only 5'5", but if they throw 16 meters in high school, they think in their mind, well, they're reaching their potential. They've already, maxed out their potential. Completely ignoring the fact that science has shown that you really don't reach your physiological absolute max until you're 28, 29, or 30. You factor that with your mental peak, which is gonna be between 30 and 34, and now you have this time frame of, wow, that's a decade away. So as college coaches, should we really be worried about how tall someone is when we know that the physiological advantage is gonna happen later on in life? So we have to think about that when we're analyzing this. Yes, biomechanically, a taller thrower, if you took someone who's 6'5" versus someone who's 6 feet, and if all things are created equal, the 6'5" thrower will win by a couple inches, okay? Yes, but in reality, we have to go into the fact that that's not always what happens. If there's someone who's tall, they'll be at a disadvantage in some way, maybe strength levels. If we have somebody who's shorter, their temperament's a little bit more effective, or they're stronger, so they're a little bit more powerful, so they can make up with some other areas that they lose on reach. So let's go into this right away. And again, we're talking about women here, specifically for this first video. And if we look right at women's shot put from 2011, let's just review this. 2011, Nadine Kleinert, Li Xiaogong. Back in 2011, Li Xiaogong was freaking bombing, 1997 even back then. Jillian Camarena, Nadezhda Ostapchuk, who I think popped hot, Valerie Adams. So Valerie Adams is tall. So out of that, we go, Adams was 76 inches, Ostapchuk 71, Jill Camarena 70, Li Xiaogong 69 inches, Ling Li 73 inches, so maybe a little bit taller there, around a little more than 6 feet tall. And Nadine Kleinert is 75 inches, so we've got two pretty big outliers there. But if we go through 2013, we can see more of Valerie Adams, Christina Schwanitz, Li Xiaogong, Michelle Carter, who's again not that tall. Michelle Carter's walking around at 69 inches, so what's that? 58 or 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in there. But we can work through this, okay? We can work through this and then get all the way to 2017. Li Xiaogong, Anita Martin, 69 and 68 inches. Michelle Carter, 69 inches. Danielle Thomas-Dodd, who is not tall, 65 inches. She's one of the best in the world. Brittany Crew, a little bit taller, 70 inches, so she's what, 5'10". And then Raven Saunders, 65 inches in there in 2017. And then we get into 2019. And if we factor in, we're putting in Raven Saunders in here because of what she did at the Olympics in 2016 and what she did at the Olympics in 2021. Now remember, she's 65 inches. And now we're gonna go into the World Championships in 2019 in Doha. Brittany Crew, 70 inches. Chase Ely, 70 inches. Dubitskaya, 71. Anita Martin, 68 inches. She's not that tall. Again, Maggie Ewan, 70 inches. Schwanitz, 71. Daniil Thomas-Dodd, 65, just like Raven Saunders. And then we got Li Xiaogong at 69 inches. So that brings us to the whole discussion. What is the average? What's the average from 2011 all the way to 2020? What's the average height of a female shot putter to throw far? We have an athlete right now, Trinity Franklin, Emma Callahan, another one. These are shot putters that are women that tend to be shorter, but they've both thrown close to 50 feet in high school as juniors. Why would you not want to recruit them? So we look at someone like Daniil Thomas-Dodd, someone like Raven Saunders, and there's an upside to having somebody who's shorter. They're extremely wired, they're extremely explosive, they're extremely strong, they're total powerhouses, right? And so we can go in and look at it and say, all right, well, what's the average? Because maybe we just use that average to figure everything out. And the average height is 69.9 inches. So right around 5 feet 9 inches. So now, as coaches, we can sort of sit there and say, Valerie Adams is 76 inches. So she's, 7 inches taller than what we're typically going to be used to. Now, that's going to be an outlier. She's just a large female. She's a large woman, and she's taller, and there's not many women that are that height. If we use that 5'9" to determine, that is the average height of the top 8 best throwers in the world. Now, if we start to think about the NCAA level, if you're a high school female shot putter, you're going, all right, well, I'm 5'7". Does that mean I can't be top 8 in the world? No, it doesn't mean that. Raven Saunders and Daniil Thomas-Dodd are outliers on the shorter end, and they can show you that it's still possible for you to throw far. But then also the discussion goes into, I would be interested to analyze, those top 8 over the last 5 years at the NCAA level, because then we start to see that we can think about, all right, is that a little bit shorter than the best in the world? And in reality, it probably would be. That's what really matters to a collegiate coach. So let's say the average height for a female shot putter at the collegiate level is 5'8", and even let's bring back into this discussion, Daniil, Raven, Maggie, all of these athletes have had the NCAA record at some point in some event, right? And so if you look at it from Daniil and Raven, both have had the NCAA record, and both of them have NCAA titles, and both of them are 65 inches. So height isn't the overarching determining factor. Yes, it plays a huge role in how someone could potentially throw. Should they glide? Should they spin? Yes, it does give them an advantage to a point, but is that advantage limiting? Absolutely not. It's not limiting, and I think that's the biggest lesson that we can take away here is looking through the lens of the physiological peak for athletes is at 28 to 30 years old. So playing the game that someone who's in high school throwing 16 meters and on the short end is reaching their peak already is absolutely absurd, because you're throwing out research that has been done in the world of sports performance. It's mind-boggling. But anyway, look at this, take this as an example. I think if you even look at these different heights, now you can look at heights and say, all right, when you tend to be about 70 inches, you're still seeing most of these women are spinners. Once they get up over 72 to 73 inches, almost everyone starts to turn into a glide. So that could have an impact on the technique that you're going to be choosing. But I also think in the women's shot that's also going to slowly change here as we progress into the future. So take this information for what it's worth. I hope it helped you out. I hope it helped anyone, see through that lens of, does height really matter? And always remember, there's going to be outliers. There's going to be Valerie Adams, Nadine Kleinert on one side, Raven Saunders, and Daniil Thomas-Dodd on the other side. So everybody's going to fit in the middle, but ultimately it comes back to physiological peak is not going to happen until 28 to 30 years old, and the mental peak is going to happen between 30 and 34 years. Take that information. Hopefully it helps you in your training. Hopefully it helps you if you're on the shorter end to stay focused and to ignore all those naysayers, because you guys can become champions. Until next time, guys, if you need help with your throwing, head over to throwsuniversity.com, pick up a throws-based training program today. Peace.